Let me ask you something. What if the biggest challenge in your spiritual life isn't a lack of faith, but a lack of skill? Today, we're going to dive into a concept that could totally change how you look at every single battle you face: the wisdom of faith. You ever been there? You feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to. You're praying, you're believing, you're standing on the promises, but that breakthrough just isn't coming. It is such a frustrating place to be, and honestly, it's where a lot of us just get stuck. Well, what if the problem isn't that you don't have enough faith? What if the real missing piece is something else? It's the wisdom of faith. It's not about just having belief. It's about knowing how to actually use it when life starts pushing back hard. And this right here, this is the whole game. See, having faith often comes from just hearing the word. But the wisdom of faith, that's the skill of taking that word and wielding it in your specific situation. It's like this. You can own the sharpest sword in the world, but if you don't know how to fight with it, what good is it, really? All right, so to get good at wielding that sword, we've got to understand that faith isn't just some passive, sit back and wait kind of thing. At its very core, faith is all about getting your viewpoint to line up with God's. It's looking at a crazy situation and, no matter what your eyes or ears are telling you, choosing to see the evidence of a different reality, one that just hasn't shown up yet. And this is exactly where the rubber meets the road and where we all get stuck. Life just loves to throw contradictions at you, right? The doctor's report says one thing, the promise says another, your bank account is screaming at you even though you've been faithful, that door you were so sure about just slammed shut in your face. This, right here, is the testing ground. It's the battlefield. So what do you do on that battlefield? How do you navigate it? Well, there is this incredible story, a perfect case study of this wisdom in action. Let's talk about the Syrophoenician woman. Okay, so picture this. This woman comes to Jesus, absolutely desperate for her daughter to be healed. But his response? Wow, it's a test. It sounds like a flat-out rejection. He basically tells her, this blessing isn't for you. Now, for most of us, that's it. Conversation over. We just turn around and walk away, totally defeated. But not her. Oh no. This is where that wisdom of faith just explodes onto the scene. She doesn't get offended. She doesn't get discouraged. Instead, she takes his statement, this apparent no, and she flips it on its head. She uses it as the very reason she should get her miracle. She says, "You're right, Lord, and that's why I'm here, because even the dogs get the crumbs." And that is the whole point. Jesus calls her faith great not because of its size, but because of her skill. She had the incredible wisdom to find her answer inside the rejection. I mean, come on, that is a masterclass in how to apply your faith. Okay, so that's amazing, right? But how do we develop that kind of skill? Let's bring in the experts. We're going to look at 4 biblical figures who were absolute masters of this. Let's call them the 4 generals of faith who can teach us their battlefield strategies. See, here's the thing you have to get. Your rank, your spiritual maturity has nothing to do with how long you've been a believer. It has everything to do with your track record. Promotion comes from engaging in the battles and, more importantly, learning how to win them. All right, first up to the plate, General Abraham. His specialty? The wisdom to wait on a promise without letting doubt completely take over. I mean, just think about the huge contradiction he was living in. God promises him a family bigger than he can count, but what's the reality? He's 100 years old. His wife is way past childbearing age. Literally every piece of physical evidence was screaming, impossible! So what was his secret weapon? The scripture says he simply didn't focus on his own body. Now, this is so important. He wasn't in denial about his age. He just made a decision to refuse to give that fact more power than God's promise. He was fully persuaded, not in his own ability, but in the character of the one who made the promise. Next up, let's talk about General Job. Man, if anyone was an expert in trusting God through just unimaginable suffering, it was this guy. Job lost everything, his family, his money, his health. It was chaos, and none of it made any sense. And yet, right there in the middle of the fire, he makes this incredible statement. His wisdom was in maintaining his confession, what he said about God, even when his situation was a complete nightmare. He refused to let despair have the last word. Our third general is David. You know him, the master of staring down giants that had an entire army shaking in their boots. And David's strategy here is just brilliant. He's not focused on how big Goliath is. Nope. He's looking backwards. He's remembering the lion. He's remembering the bear. He uses his past victories as ammunition, as proof that God's going to deliver him again. He's essentially building a resume of God's faithfulness and cashing it in for his next victory. And finally, our fourth general, Paul. And his strategy? Well, it seems completely backwards and counterintuitive. He found his greatest strength by rejoicing right in the middle of his hardest moments. Just get this picture. Paul and Silas are beaten, they're chained up in the deepest, darkest part of a prison for doing God's work. And their response? At midnight, they start a worship service. That sounds crazy, right? But that's his wisdom. He understood that praise is a weapon. It isn't something you do after you get a breakthrough. Praise is the pathway to the breakthrough. Okay, so we've studied the generals. We've seen their winning strategies. Now let's boil all that wisdom down into a practical 4-step battle plan you can use the next time your faith comes under fire. Here it is, nice and simple. First, do what Abraham did. Refuse to give more weight to the problem than you do to the promise. Second, pull a page from Job's playbook. Maintain your confession. Keep saying what God says no matter what you see. Third, use David's strategy. Use your history with God, your past victories, as fuel for today's fight. And fourth, the Paul principle. Praise your way into the victory. Don't wait for it to be over. Let's bring this all home now with one final, crucial shift in how you look at things. This could reframe every single struggle you are facing right now. The scripture tells us to actually be joyful when we face these tests. Why? Because the testing of your faith is actually a productive process. It's not there to break you down, it's designed to build you up, to make you stronger, to fully equip you. Every trial has a purpose. So here's the final takeaway, the big question I want to leave you with. What if that battle you're in right now isn't a setback at all? What if it's actually a battlefield promotion? It's your training ground. It's your opportunity to go from being a soldier to becoming a general. So the only question left is, are you ready to apply the wisdom of faith and earn your new rank?